welcome to my home practice tutorial number 4. My name is Ruth. I'm an Irish yoga teacher. I'm the creator of the 108 Asana yoga sequencing cards, and you'll also find loads of sequences on my website www.yogaru.ie. So the aim of these tutorials is to help you to build your home practice. But not just your home practice, it's your self-practice. So the difference being with self-practice, you're learning to pick poses that you want to practice, so you're really tailoring to your needs. So we're starting off with an article that you'll find up on my website called How to Build a Home Practice. And in these tutorials, this is the last in the series of 4, we are now going to go through Home Flow 3. So I'm going to guide you through them, and then you're hopefully going to switch this off and then flow through it yourself. So in this one, what I want to do is to show you a few ways. Where it starts getting interesting is that you get so comfortable with flowing through these little mini flows that you start to throw in your own poses and things that you naturally are drawn towards, or things that you remember from a class that you went to that you really liked and you want to see how it feels in your home practice. And what's lovely about this is that you can spend a bit more time exploring the pose, and you decide yourself how long you want to stay in the pose, and you're really led by your breath as well. It helps you to really connect with your breath. So I'm not going to go through the sun salutations there. You'll see Surya C multiplied by 2. That indicates Surya Namaskara C, and you do it on the right side and the left side. But I've gone through all of that in my first tutorial, and I also ran through it in the third tutorial. So if you want to go back and have a look at that, if you haven't done that. We'll get started. Another thing just to note is that in my other tutorials I went through how I warm up. I usually warm up on my back and I just rotate through all my joints, and I won't go through that today, but again maybe go back and have a look at that, because even before you come into cat-cow as your first pose, it can be nice to just lie on your back, particularly if it's a morning practice, to just warm everything up and really arrive onto your mat. Okay. So pretend you have done your warm-up, or if you feel it's okay with you, you go straight into cat-cow. Again, home practice, it's all about how you feel and what you're ready to start with. So starting on home flow 3, we go through some rounds of cat-cow, really lifting your spine up towards the ceiling and then letting it drop down towards the ground on your inhale. Exhale. So think at the exhale, you're carving out your spine up towards the ceiling, and the breath is pushing out from the belly. Then inhaling. On your inhale, you're reaching your shoulders back towards your hips, and you're really broadening through the collarbones. The gaze is just forward of your mat, so you don't want too much of a curve in the back of your neck there. Okay, so you've done your 5 rounds of cat-cow. Now, as I mentioned before, the start and the end of these 3 mini flows are the same, so that you start to build a bit of familiarity with your practice. So the next pose is puppy dog pose. You reach the arms forward. You try to keep your hips directly over your knees. So you're reaching your hips back and your arms forward, and you're just letting your chest drop down towards the ground. So in each of these poses, have a little root around the pose internally, and find the area that you feel the pose the most, because that's usually what it's doing. So this one, I feel it the most in my chest and in my underarms, and it's a heart opener. So it's coming into a little back bend as well. So in the home flow 3 there, you're going to go through 2 rounds of Surya Namaskara. So right foot first, then left foot is the action leg, and then you come into child's pose, remembering your different versions. The arms forward, the arms back, or using a prop as probably the most restorative one. Remembering that your child's pose is about recuperating and getting ready to move on. So make sure you are comfortable. Okay, next pose is plank pose, or plankasana in Sanskrit. So you're making sure that your hips are not down too low. So if they're up a little bit too high, it's not particularly bad alignment, because you're not going into too much flexion on your back. So this is where it can get a little bit tricky on your back. So you want to make sure that your hips Ideally in a perfect slant, but a little bit higher is not detrimental. You're still using the strength of your arms, the strength of your core, and the strength of your legs. So here's where you can start to add in poses if you want. You can start to add in little leg lifts if you're feeling you want to add a bit of strength to your practice. Or you can add in coming down into your forearms and coming back up again. So this is where you start to make your practice tailored to your needs and also extend it if you want it to be a slightly longer practice. Okay, and then back to downward dog. Even though you don't see downward dog there, remember I talked about the transitions. Most of the time we come through downward dog or Tadasana, standing at the top of your mat. So downward dog, step that right leg forward, hands to the knees, find your way into high lunge. Inhale here and then exhale, just reach the arms forward. Have a little bit of pressure in the back of that foot there, so we don't want all the weight to be in the front foot, so press through that back foot. Inhaling up, and then exhale, reaching forward. Inhaling, and then exhaling. Hands to the hips, stepping that left leg forward, coming into Tadasana. So in the sequence there it says 5 times. I just showed you 3, but again I'm just talking you through this sequence in the hope that you'll be able to flow through it yourself. Okay, so our next round is our little gap in the middle where we do a version of kind of a standing pose before our next sequence of mini flows. Inhale, reach the arms up high. Actually start with your feet wider than hip distance because we're going to come into Malasana squat. So inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the middle and come into Malasana. And then inhale to come back up again. Reach the arms and exhale, brings you back down. Inhale to come up. I'll do 3 rounds. And exhale to come down. Inhale to come up. And exhale, hands down the middle into Tadasana. Okay, and then you've got a half Surya Namaskar there, which is inhale. Exhale, folding down. I'm going to keep a bend in my knees. Inhale, reaching halfway up, press the hands into the knees, reach the chest forward. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, hands down, midline in prayer position. So our next standing mini flow, we're going to end up in Ardha Chandrasana. So if you have a brick, it's nice to have that ready. If you don't have a brick, we can do it without it. Or you can use a dictionary or a tin of beans or just some sort of household prop. I'm just going to stand back. So you can either come down to the ground and work through the vinyasa if you're familiar with them, or you can just step back into your mini flows. For this one, I'm just going to step back. So I'm stepping back into a nice wide pose for Warrior 2. So Warrior 2, the body is squared to the side of the mat, that left hip, I've stepped my left leg back, so that left hip is naturally a little bit forward of the right hip. So we don't want to force the hip squared or that will pull that right knee in. So just taking a breath. Of course, when you are flowing through this, you're going to be pausing for about 3 to 5 breaths in each pose. And then our next pose is Trikonasana. So you can use that with or without the brick. Reach the left arm up, right arm either comes down to the brick or to the inside that leg. I like to use the brick because it means you can press your hand into the brick and really reach through the fingertips of the left hand. And the bottom waist is rolling forward, the top waist is rolling back. Okay, so you've been there for your 3 breaths in your practice. Bend that front knee, bring that brick forward, and then just step that left leg forward. Step back a little. And then bring that left leg up. So keep that right knee deeply bent here until you find your balance. See, can you stack the hips first with that right knee bent? Because that brings down your center of gravity and makes it a little bit easier for you to balance. Really activate that left leg. That'll power up the muscles on that leg, make it easy for you to lift it. Then when you've got the hips stacked and the shoulders stacked, start to very gradually straighten that right leg. Reach the left arm up. So Ardha Chandrasana. Okay, and then bring that left leg down. So just very simple, a nice transition is to come through goddess pose and then flip it through to the other side. Find your warrior on that side, your Trikonasana, holding for 3 or 5 breaths, and then getting ready to come into your Ardha. Keep the knee deeply bent. See, can you get those hips stacked, the shoulders stacked? Press out through that heel, then start to straighten that leg. Reach the right arm up. If you might need to come back, you can even travel through goddess again, and then coming back to the top of your mat. Step back to downward dog and bring your knees down. So how to tailor that a little bit and to add to it is you could have ran through that little mini flow a second time. So say for the first time you would hold each pose for say 3 breaths, and then the second time you could flow through it with the breath. So each pose you hold for 1 breath. So warrior 1, exhale, inhale here, exhale into Trikonasana, inhale here, exhale into Ardha. Inhale here, exhale into goddess, and then bring it to the other side. So a more flowy version of it. So that's all our standing poses done. We're going to come down onto the ground and take our seated. So it's always nice to start with Baddhanasana. I find it's an easier one to find the nice stacked pelvis. Getting your pelvis ready for all its seated poses. So nice and stacked rather than tilted backwards. And then we have a twist. Always nice to take a twist at the end of your practice. Twisting to the right. I look different on the screen. Always twisting to the right first. And then twisting to the left. Make sure that that right leg stays nice and active. And then taking your bridge pose and pausing your bridge pose. Always the option to add a breath in at whatever height feels nice to you. So if you want to take it slightly deeper back bend, bring the big brick up to its highest height, and you can interlace the fingers underneath it. And if your brick feels nice and sturdy, play around here with lifting one leg up. Pointing and flexing the toe. Bringing it down, lifting the other leg up. Pointing and flexing the toe. There's loads of things you can do in bridge. You can do your figure 4, open the hip up a little bit. And maybe if you're doing these kind of things, it might feel nicer to come down to a slightly lower height. If you're on the highest height, when you're coming back down, I always find it feels lovely to take a pause on the mid-height, pause on the flat, and then come all the way down. It feels lovely to bring the hips back down to the ground. And then our next and final pose is just a twist. So feet on the ground, and just always drop the knees to the left side first. Because if the knees drop into the left, that means the body is twisting to the right. And we always twist to the right first. It's to do with the direction of the gut. And then bring them up to center and twist to the left. Bring the arms into cactus position. And back up to center. And then take your Shavasana. So regardless of how long you've been practicing, do take your Shavasana for a few breaths, or sorry, a few minutes at least. I know it can be hard to take Shavasana, particularly in a home practice, and nobody's telling you to stay there, but definitely, even if it's just for 1 minute, just to let the practice run through you and just to reintegrate into your day. Okay, so that's Home Flow 3 and of our home practice tutorials. So what I'm going to do next is Home Flow 5. I'm actually going to take those 3 mini sequences and mix them up. So here's where I'm going to show you how to then really start digging around and seeing what it is that you're needing on your mat every time you come to it. And the more you practice these 3 little mini flows, the more you'll get comfortable with flowing and finding your way with the breath. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, you can contact me at ruth@yogaru.ie. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at yogaru_Ireland. And look to see you the next time. Thank you.